All right, good evening, everyone. We are gathered here on May 3rd, 2022 for the monthly business meeting of the Athens-Clarke County Mayor and Commission. And our first order of business will be to ask Clerk Spratling to call roll for us.
Davenport,
Here.
Parker, Link,
Here.
Wright,
Present.
Benson,
Here.
Tool,
Here.
Edwards,
Here.
Myers,
Here.
Thornton,
Here.
Hand.
Here.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, I do need minutes approved from the meetings of Tuesday, April 5th and Tuesday, April 12th, as well as April non-voting meetings. Do I hear a motion for approval of those minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Myers, a second from Commissioner Thornton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Madam Clerk, are there any written communications this evening? All right, before we get on with resident input, we are blessed to have some awards to present. All right, it is joyfully a common occurrence that elements of our Leisure Services Department are recognized for their great work. Just to begin this, I'd like to ask Kent Kilpatrick, our Leisure Services Director, to come join me. And we have 3 different awards that we are going to be talking about this evening.
Mayor, and if I might, as Kent makes his way forward, yesterday marked Kent's 35th year with Athens-Clarke County government.
Nice. Good job. Nice.
I've got a covered wagon long ago.
Nice to spend about half that time with you, sir. All right, so we are going to this evening be honoring a volunteer group as well as 3 of our employees. The first is what we affectionately call Trail Team 6, which is a hard-working group of volunteers. 6 has been expanded to more volunteers, but that is still their name. And so if Jess Bryson, Mike Bryson, Leo Bullwinkle, Jack Bush, Jonathan Fowaus, Jeff Seibert, Maddie Seibert, and Bob Thompson could come on up. All right, and as they are assembling, I'll let you know, Trail Team 6 has built more than a mile of new trail, much of this replacing old hazardous trails that have been closed and restored to forest. And it's important to know that this significant effort came from people who are working just 2 hours every Friday. They've worked in every park with natural surface trails, as well as drainage work along the greenway, and all of this has been done by hand with just simple tools. We're so proud of this, and for their efforts, Trail Team 6 has received 3 GRPA, Georgia Recreation and Park Association Awards for their commitment to the trails. They received 2 awards on the state level, including the Volunteer Award and the Maintenance Network Volunteer of the Year, as well as the GRPA District 7 Volunteer Award, which covers Northeast Georgia. So everybody gather around. We're going to take some pictures.
Also, get over here.
Okay, Jess, you can step back there. Thank you. Yep. There's me.
Yeah. Here you go.
Jess, oh yeah. Turn it around.
Yeah. Oh, if y'all turn it around.
Yeah.
Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Oh, okay, I'm looking this way, hi.
All right, everybody, give a round of applause. Thank you.
You have to put it back.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yes. This is yours.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, and the good work extends from our residents to our staff. And so Leisure Services Department staff has been recognized with 3 awards. Leisure Services Director Ken Kilpatrick has been honored with the GRPA District 7 Roy Hammond Leadership Award. And this award recognizes professionals for cumulative exemplary service to the state, the profession, and the district. And this is the highest honor the district can bestow on any member. So congratulations to Kent. Round of applause. All right. Kent, here is your plaque for your good work.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Also, we want to offer congratulations to a couple of staff members who were unable to join us tonight. And those go to Aquatics and Adult Athletics Program Specialist Emily Mann, who received the State Athletics/Aquatics Network Distinguished Professional Award, as well as Maintenance Supervisor Jim Ferguson, who received the GRPA District 7 Facilities and Ground Professionals Award. So everybody, round of applause for them and their efforts. All right, and finally, the Leisure Services Department was further honored by GRPA with another statewide award, sort of the granddaddy of all the awards. For the 9th time within 19 years, Leisure Services here in Athens, Clarke County earned the Georgia Recreation and Park Association State Agency of the Year Award for any community with populations of 80,000 to 150,000. This award recognizes the agency that's made a significant contribution to recreation, park, or leisure services on a local level and is based on outstanding programs and accomplishments over the last year. This is particularly significant because this is voted on by other recreation professionals who are looking at their peers and saying this is what good work looks like. So congratulations to Leisure Services. So Kent, to you and your entire team, thank you for the hard work you do. All right.
Does
And-
take a
and
team.
you can work out with this award. All right.
Thank you, Mayor.
Congratulations to all. Thank you. Thank you, Gene. All right, friends, as is always the case, there's several opportunities for resident input, and rules will be slightly different for planning and zoning, but generally speaking, there are going to be multiple opportunities. We're going to have input on the consent agenda, input on old and new business, input on the 2 planning and zoning items, and then input on any item not on the agenda at the conclusion of this evening. And for all those cases, we just ask that any resident who is speaking on an item lets us know their name and their place of residence. You will have 3 minutes to present. The light will turn green when you begin speaking, yellow when you have 30 seconds remaining, and red when your time is at an end. So now is that time when we take a look at the consent agenda. Before we go on to resident input on the consent agenda, would any commissioner like to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Davenport.
Item number 1.
All right, any other item? All right, so residents, if you would like to come speak to any item 2 through 12, now is that time. Would anyone like to speak to items 2 through 12, which comprise the consent agenda? All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion from the body for approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, do we need to remove 12 in order to put it on hold, or is the hold wrapped into the consent approval?
Good question. Madam Clerk, is it understood, based on the agenda, that 12 will be held, or? Okay. Okay, so it can stay on consent. So it's understood that that'll be held. Yeah, Attorney Drake, are there ordinances?
Yes, Mayor.
Items 2, 3, 4, and 5 have ordinances. I'll begin with agenda item 2, an ordinance to amend the Code of Athens, Clarke County, Georgia with respect to parking restrictions on Dudley Drive and for other purposes. Number 3, an ordinance to amend the FY 2022 operating and capital budget for Athens, Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide grant funding if awarded from the congressionally directed spending for expenses related to one investigator position directly supporting efforts to specialize in crimes committed against the elderly, LGBTQ plus community, and other persons as may require enhanced investigative expertise and for other purposes. Item number 4, an ordinance to amend the FY 2022 annual operating and capital budget for Athens, Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide grant funding if awarded from congressionally directed spending for the purchase of all electrical vehicles and charging stations and related equipment and for other purposes. Item number 5, an ordinance to amend the FY 2022 annual operating and capital budget for Athens, Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide funding for the Public Utilities Department for GDOT projects. GDOT PI number 122600 State Route 10 Loop Athens Perimeter at State Route 10 US 78 Lexington Road and for other purposes.
Thank you, Attorney Drake. All right, is there a motion for approval of 2 through 12?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Edwards and a second from Commissioner Link. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. And we are moving on to public hearing on the FY23 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. This is F13. We have a special opportunity just for public input on the CDBG Annual Action Plan. So would anyone like to speak to that at this time? All right. Evening.
Honorable Mayor and Commission, my name is Fred Smith. I live at 425 Rivermont Road. I guess I'm speaking at the right time, but I'm here to speak in favor of the Vision Committee recommendations regarding Community Development Block Grant. And we're very excited by those recommendations as they pertain to EADC. It will give us an opportunity to continue our outstanding work with innovative healthcare, as well as to expand our youth services. We are very excited by the prospect of working with students, on young folks on economic development, learning something about business, how to start a business, how to run a business, learning some terminology, as well as learning some financial literacy in partnership with a couple more nonprofits in the community. In addition, we could also increase our services in terms of workforce development with our Bridge to Learning, Bridge to Employment program. So again, I appreciate your consideration and support for those items. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Would anyone else like to speak to item 13, Community Development Block Grant Plan? All right. Bring discussion to the commission. Would any commissioner like to place a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Motion for approval of the CDBG plan from Commissioner Thornton and a second from Commissioner Denson. Commissioner Thornton, any comment on this item?
No, I think that we're going in the right direction, and I think the transparency and the involvement that we've been talking about as a commission, I think is happening. So I'm real pleased to accept the Vision's recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any follow-up, Commissioner Denson?
I'll just say I appreciate the work the HCD staff and the Vision Committee did to bring these recommendations forward.
All right. Any further input from members of the body? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Hearing none, motion carries. All right. We now move on to old and new business. So these are items 1 and 14 through 20. Would any member of the public here like to speak to items 1 or 14 through 20?
Hi, my name is David Weber. I'm at 165 Sylvan Road. Do I speak now or during the item?
You're speaking to, are you speaking to?
Oh, sorry, for item 17.
For 17, now's the time.
Okay.
Yep.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. My name is David Weber. I'm a master's student at the University of Georgia studying wildlife management and ecology, and I'm also a member of Sunrise Athens, our local hub of the National Sunrise Movement, which fights for action on climate, justice, and jobs. I would like to thank the Commission for the bold steps it has already taken towards a clean energy transition for Athens. However, local government actions alone are not enough to meet the emissions reductions necessary to prevent catastrophic climate impacts. It is time for the federal government to do its part. I talk frequently with my friends at UGA about climate change, and we're all scared about what will happen if our leaders pass up this critical opportunity to take action. Georgia is expected to experience some of the worst effects of climate change. Without major national investments into a clean energy transition, more Georgians will die from extreme heat. More Georgians will struggle to pay their bills due to higher energy costs. And more Georgians will lose their homes and businesses due to floods, droughts, and other natural disasters. I urge the Commission to pass this resolution calling on our national leaders to do everything they can to protect the people we love by making bold investments in clean energy and disadvantaged communities most at risk from climate change. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Would anyone else like to speak to any of the old business items on the agenda tonight? Again, those are 1 and 14 through 20. Evening.
Back so soon. This time, I want to speak in favor of item 15 under old business. And I've seen the recommendation, and I just want to thank the commission, the Mayor and Commission, for moving forward with these organizations, because you know we, the youth, well, not just the youth, but this community have been hit pretty hard with the pandemic, but especially the youth, and so this will give a lot of organizations an opportunity now to do some hands-on work with the youth. So again, we're very excited about not just the funding coming to EADC, but the funding that is also going to these other organizations that can extend the reach into the community and support the youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Would anyone else like to speak to 1 or 14 through 20? All right, hearing none, we'll come behind the rail for discussion. Commissioner Davenport, you asked that 1 be removed from the consent agenda. I know you're interested in placing this on hold. Would you like to make a motion to that effect?
I'd like to place this on hold until our June 7th meeting.
I'll second.
All right, we've got a hold till June 7th on the floor. Motion from Commissioner Davenport, second from Commissioner Wright. Commissioner Davenport, any discussion of this item?
No, the Solid Waste Advisory Committee meets next Wednesday at 5:30. We're just gonna hash out some minor details. So just a 30-day, a couple of weeks hold will help us hash out some of those minor details.
All right, thank you. Any follow-up, Commissioner? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll see this again next month. All right, 14 is the calendar year 22 pavement maintenance program project bid award. Manager Williams, if you would just go ahead and remind the kind of viewing audience a little bit about how we got to where we are now.
Yes, a few years ago, we had a fiscal year paving program, and y'all, the Mayor and Commission changed that to a calendar year paving program, which in its normal rhythm finds you approving the paving list of roads earlier in the spring, and then we go out for bid, and then we return to you for you to finalize the bid and award the bid, and then we get to paving, usually in late spring, and we pave up until mid-November when the first frost starts to occur. In this case, and it's true with all the major construction projects we're working on, we're experiencing, just like everywhere else in America, a pretty significant escalation of cost. And the bids came in much higher than we thought. We were hoping to spend about $8.8 million, and they came in around $13 and $14 million. The staff worked very closely with the attorney's office. Attorney's office advised that we could not take the lowest bidder and negotiate a reduced scope of work per the procurement law from the state. And so staff is recommending that you have to take the formal action to reject the bids. Within your agenda item, they have proposed how they will go about with a reduced scope. They're going to add some alternates, in case the base bids come in a little bit lower, and then we can incrementally add some extra work so that the bid's been restructured to hopefully come within the expected cost. So tonight you're being asked to reject the bids. If you do follow through with that, they will advertise as soon as May the 5th, and they would hope to be back, in front of you shortly for a July release of paving.
Thanks for that, Manager Williams. Just wanted to update the public, given that this is a little bit different than what we would have originally anticipated. All right, would any commissioner like to place a motion on the floor?
I'll move that we put this on hold and authorize staff to rebid.
We have to reject it.
Or reject it and authorize staff to rebid.
All right, motion from Commissioner Link, second from Commissioner Thornton. Any further discussion, Commissioner Link?
Yeah, I just wanted to use this opportunity to talk about a particular road in my district that is a segment that is unpaved, and it's a highly traveled road between two fairly major corridors in an industrial and multifamily residential zone out on Fritzmar Road. It connects Newton Bridge and Cathwood, and apparently we have no program or process in place for paving unpaved roads or even unpaved segments of roads. It's a 500-foot segment of a half-mile spur. People are hitting it going, 45 miles an hour, spinning out, throwing rocks. There's a completed subdivision on the road now that has about 100 homes, or no, 80 homes, so, a couple hundred people live in there, as well as a extended care facility with 150 rooms, and the road comes out at Power Partners, which has 400 employees. We have buses and delivery trucks, and I just want to appeal to my colleagues, for support in trying to at least complete this one road. This one segment, it's the only road in the entire county that has this kind of dense zoning on it and this kind of dense development on it. And there's also evidence of street racers using it as a cut-through. It's getting a little out of hand, and I've heard from multiple constituents, especially as the subdivision has become more and more populated, that folks are really concerned about this. So we'll be trying to find a way to evaluate that road and see what we can do to find the funds to get that tiny little segment paved.
All right, thanks for highlighting that, Commissioner. Any follow-up, Commissioner Thornton?
I don't have anything specific, but I am looking forward to talking to the county manager about some paving areas that we identified early on. But I just think this tabling for now gives me a better opportunity to look at this, so I appreciate it.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Wright?
Yeah, I'm ready to move forward with this just for the sake of getting these roads repaired. But County Manager, if you would help me with this, all the sections or the roads get ranked numerically, right? As
Yes.
far as how bad they are.
Yes.
But yet at the end of our, and I understand why we're having to cull it down, but I have a little concerns with the geographical decision that the base bid is resurfacing inside the loop only, and then the patching is inside the loop only. And I would have thought that that the ranking would have been the priority, not, because when people talk about who gets what inside and outside the loop, this does not look very fair when I see it like that. So can you help us out with that?
Sure, absolutely. It's a great question, and each year we modify our payment program slightly to try and make it as efficient as possible. Y'all might remember just a few years ago where we were pretty dogmatic about the score of the road. So you would have a segment of a road paved in a neighborhood, and then one that was only marginally better that wouldn't get paved. And then we'd move on to the next neighborhood, and the residents are like, why wouldn't you pave that while you're here? And that, so then it became more about, well, and it says as much in the agenda item, we will go for those roads that have the worst scores, and then if there are any right around them, while they're there, knock it out. And then I think that the inside the loop versus outside the loop, I agree with you, Commissioner. I think that's a further manifestation of trying to, identify a geographic area to knock a lot of stuff out, or go out into the other areas.
So next year, we'll make sure it's the opposite, and we prioritize outside the loop.
Yes, and that we talked about that as staff. We could make areas, if y'all were willing, we could focus on the northeast quadrant one year, or southeast quadrant, or so on and so forth, if the group was willing to tide that over for future. But we found that having the mobilization of the paving crews, and then they'll get done 3/4 of a day, and then they can't really go start a new one. We could get more done if we start trying to isolate areas to knock them out.
And so that this is also helpful for the bid to be more economically
Yes.
feasible with it as well.
Yes.
It seems like. Okay, well, I just want to make sure we take care of that for next year.
I think it's a great point.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Hamby?
Sure, and that is a good point. I was wondering the same thing about the scoring, and I was looking at the scoring with regards to item 33A1, where it looks like they're poor roadways within Loop 10 and removal of the pricey full-depth reclamation of Baxter Street from South Avenue to South Rock Springs. I imagine that stretch of Baxter Street ranks pretty high on the list. I'm sure a lot of y'all travel it quite often. I mean, so that you're saying that's not going to be repaved within this cycle?
It's not in the current scope. No, sir. Staff was trying to, knock that 14 down back to the 8, and they were picking some, pretty costly projects to eliminate. And as you can see, they tried not to eliminate a good bit of our preventative maintenance because that extends the life of the pavement.
So what are we going to do in order to make sure Baxter Street, somebody's car doesn't fall in the hole there on Baxter Street?
Well, we'll continue to, address the issues as they, patch the potholes, keep the cracks sealed, and then we hope for next year to have a better year.
Okay.
It's certainly not going to get better on its own, that's for sure.
Right. Okay.
Commissioner Myers?
Yeah, I'm following up on the same thing. And just two things. One, to make sure I understand this. The base bid is what we're going for first, and if someone can go to the other bids, alternate 1, 2, and 3, if they can fit that in, then they could fit it in with that amount of money. Is that how we're doing this?
So how it works is they will bid on all, the base bid and all the alternates at the same time.
Okay.
And so if the Carroll Myers Construction Company bid, $4 million for base bid and then $1 million for the add alternate, and we've got $8 million to spend, then we know we can fit that in there. So it's just, we don't know what they'll give us in terms of bids, so we've really got 4 separate bids. The base we've got to have. Everything else is optional. And so whatever that lowest bid, if we can fit however much of the next 3 in, we're going to try and do that.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But I do have real qualms about this. We're going to do the inside the loop and how that was picked. I mean, that ignores everything on the east side completely for another year. This is a big item here. I'd feel better being able to vote for this if I saw some longer-range plan that clustered things together. And the inside the loop versus outside the loop seems somewhat arbitrary. I mean, you could have some things outside the loop as well as inside the loop. I need to have a future plan to really support this. This is one thing I hear from people a lot about the paving. They don't understand this. So when this gets out there that it's like, oh, we're just not getting anything, it's inside the loop, I think that's going to be really hard to explain unless I can have some future plan to go along with this.
And I think one of the add alternates does have outside the loop.
Yeah.
So, if we can, but I hear what you're saying about the
Yeah.
prioritization.
And in fact, we'll speak to it later, but I'm having a town hall, and one of the subjects was pavement for the next year. So this will, I'm bringing this to people's attention right at the same time that we're putting this in here and saying, hey, we're not going to do any paving here. So I need some help with this.
So Manager Williams, on a conceptual level, could staff demonstrate what a 3 or 5 year kind of addressing of the geography would look like?
Sure, we can do that. It could take several forms, so we could bring some ideas to you in a future work session and get your response, feedback.
Right. Commissioner Houle?
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything new regarding the concerns, but I'll echo them. I mean, my entire district is outside the loop, and I'm hesitant to kind of completely change the way we've been doing things for years. And honestly, what's taken a lot of convincing to get constituents on board with hearing that their street is going to have to wait an extra year or 3 is because we've been emphasizing the scoring system, and so departing from it because of the bid situation this year it feels sort of abrupt to me. But I trust staff's thinking to get us moving forward somehow in a timely manner. I'm just, I feel like it's necessary to air those concerns. I did want to clarify the motion on the floor. I thought I heard it was a motion to hold, but then the recommendation on the agenda item does not read that way.
Actually, a
So-
motion to reject the.
Yeah, so,
All
so
bids.
the motion on the floor is as stated on the agenda item? Is that what you're going for?
Yes, to reject the bid, yeah.
Okay, and it does not include the CDO that you had emailed out? Okay. So the idea of Fritz Marlane is just kind of floating out there as a suggestion without being
Yeah,
attached to our vote?
I've asked staff to do a road safety audit so we can get more information about traffic counts and stuff.
Okay, so for my own clarity here, we're voting to reject the received bids, authorize staff to re-advertise, et cetera. Okay.
Commissioner Thornton?
I'm not going to take up any time. I think that Commissioner Myers said what I was trying to say, that if you could give us some different whatever, I think I would feel better voting on something like this.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Denson?
Thank you, Mayor. And yeah, I definitely share this, all the same concerns. I feel like the inside the loop is definitely for folks who live outside the loop. It's a bad phrase. It's a little bit of an expletive that they don't want to hear. And it definitely is not something that I think any of us can go back to our constituents, my neighbors outside the loop, to be able to defend that kind of action. I mean, when I see, Whitehead Road, which I have had to send in many, many work orders on to get potholes filled over the last few years, and which I've told constituents too, who've called me and say, well, it's on the list, it's ranked here, so we're gonna get to it, and then not have it done because it just happens to be outside of the loop, an area that historically has gotten less services. I just don't think it's something that we can defend. And so I wonder if I'm willing to make a substitute motion then if we need to be able to pass option A of rejecting, but then changing option B to authorizing staff to bring back alternate scopes for us to consider. Do we need to do that?
Might I make a suggestion, Commissioner Newsom, is to maybe just offer a substitute motion to hold it until next Tuesday at a special call meeting so that staff could prepare something for us.
I wasn't sure if the bid situation was on a timely.
As a sort of a overlay of, what I hear from Commissioner interest and sort of staff understanding. So Manager Williams, if bids were rejected tonight, could staff come back with sort of a model for a couple of ways that this could be approached?
Yes. We could, rejecting the bids won't change between now and next week, so you could go ahead and move to do that, and then that provides, because we're not able to afford that as it is. We can come back to you. As far as developing a multi-year paving plan between now and next Tuesday, I'm not sure we can do that, but we could show you some ideas about how that might look. Another thing, and we could qualify further so that you're comfortable with the inside versus outside the loop. I know one of the reasons is we didn't finish the calendar year 21 paving program, so those roads rolled forward because their scores don't improve, and a lot of those are already in the loop, so that was part of that. But sure, I understand the reticence, and if y'all want, we can have a brief conversation at the work session next week and perhaps, have a special called session if the mayor agrees and move it forward at that point.
Okay, so I guess make a substitute motion for us to accept option 1A, and I guess and just at that point, and then we'll just wait till the special call session. So yeah.
I'll second it.
I've got a substitute motion from Commissioner Denson. I think a second from Commissioner Hamby. Commissioner Hamby, did you have some follow-up?
I did. I'm just, I don't dislike the idea of a multi-year thing, but I think it's good to have just for planning purposes. But, I do the, some people, I like the idea also to paving streets every year in all of the county that we can hit. So I don't want us to dismiss the scoring system that y'all and staff work so hard on. that we changed. So, I'm kind of just wondering why you just don't lop off the bottom scores and then work from there that you can afford up. So, I don't know. You're the one that gets paid the big bucks to figure this out. So.
Yes, sir. Well, and we can go into that further next week. I mean, basically, it's about how do we most efficiently use the dollars that we have, and so there's a cost to mobilization.
Right.
With moving them all around, so that, every penny there is one less penny on paving. So there's really a balance somewhere in there that y'all will have to get comfortable with.
And I can tell you too, just from the complaints I get about chip and seal, I'm fine if you knock that off. No, but I'm just joking. I understand the importance of it, but.
Well, if y'all agree, we'll add a brief presentation to next week's work session, and then perhaps have if you want to front load that, Mayor, at the beginning, and then you can have a special called session and decide how you want to go with that.
We'll do it. Commissioner Wright?
Yeah, and the additional information as you present to us, I thought you can cover the reality or the perception that GDOT roads have other funding sources than this, and that this is our local roads. So I think that there's also, I know I've turned in work requests and was told that's a GDOT road, so it gets turned into a different area. So if you can touch on that, because that can help us explain these, and I do feel like even if it's not the right economy of scale or trying to get the most, I just really think we need to go with the worst scored numbers as the priority, as well as the ones that didn't get finished from the past one. But, I mean, I understand the logic with all that, but you can see how it's kind of uh-oh feeling for us to try to explain all that.
And if there's any way we can get with our engineers to try and quantify what mobilization costs might be, order of magnitude, then that'll be sort of a value judgment between the cost versus the perception that's very real to many people of the equity of how we pay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Houle?
One last thought on this is just that it's always going to be more efficient to mobilize in denser, more core areas of the community. And, I'd hate for that to come at the expense of what's essentially the foundations of our promise of unification, which is to, try to treat equally the more rural areas, even though they do cost more to mobilize too. I did want to check, I don't know how this works when we reject bids, but do we still need to authorize you to execute certain documents when you're saying no, the same as if we were saying yes?
I think that's fair, yes.
Okay. So I guess that would make this substitute motion for just 1A and 1C, no B. All right.
Everybody understand that? All right. We've got the substitute motion from Commissioner Denson, second from Commissioner Hamby. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, fun fact, everybody, these jobs were once known as Commissioners of Roads and Bridges, so you are embracing your roots. All right, we are moving on to item 15, the expansion of youth development programming funding recommendations. So I'll say at the outset, kudos to staff and the community for stepping up to the plate and deploying some dollars very quickly so that we have an embracing community for our young folks in the summertime. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve these.
And second.
We've got a motion from Commissioner Link and a second from Commissioner Myers. Commissioner Link, any follow-up remarks?
Commissioner Parker's not here, but I do want to give her a shout out and thank her for being adamant that we put these funds out there, these ARPA funds, and we start addressing these issues immediately. And I'm really looking forward to seeing these kids stay busy all summer.
Mr. Myers?
Yeah, I want to thank all the organizations that put their applications together, and I want to thank staff who were working on this. This is one of the most thorough reports, and I think it's helpful for the organizations who applied and who may apply in the future to see the kind of explanation of what was strong in the application and what perhaps needed work as well. This is, no one program is going to change everything, but all of these working together makes a difference. And I can't help but think when I'm looking through this that, it's really simple. We want youth to have opportunities to explore their lives, to rich cultural activities, to be having futures. It's not different. It's not tricky. And then I think of on the youth shooting that we had in the last death and we had in the last month, and a lot of different shootings over in the east side that we've had. And this is such an important investment, and I'm really glad that we're doing this and we're starting here and making that movement in that right direction. So, and thanks staff, and thanks all you out in the public who put these together.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Thornton.
I also want to thank, looking at the groups that were awarded funding, I'm very impressed because these are groups that are in the community already. They've already been doing great work, and this funding will help them to continue to do great work. I also want to commend Rick Dunn, who I reached out to, and Mr. Smith, and Mr. Blackwell that came and spoke before us. I think when we can encourage folk to come and speak on their behalf and not us try to take credit for encouraging them, I think that's how we get things done. So I'm real pleased to have worked with these folk to bring this to the attention of this commission, that we would not have to wait till the end of a year to get this money out. The summer's here and we need it now. So I'm real glad that we were able to do that.
Thank you. Commissioner Dennis.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, and I'm very excited to see this move forward, and definitely want to thank all the organizations that applied. And yeah, agreed. This is a fantastic mix of organizations. There's a lot of established orgs with new orgs working within them. So I think this is definitely the way to do it, what we've been talking about for years. And I just want to, like, for the public, I mean, this is big. These grants here are going to, I added up the numbers for all the different ones. It's going to help serve 314 additional youth this summer. I mean, that's not something just to blink at. That's a big number, 314 additional youth.
Elementary school full of kids.
Yeah, it is. And so, yeah, big kudos to these organizations for taking this on and finding a way to increase the capacity so we can help 314 additional youth. And with varied things, everything from literacy, college readiness, tennis, and also variations of ages, everybody from 5 to 18. There's different programs in here. So fantastic job by staff and fantastic job by the community.
Thank you. All right, we've got a motion from Commissioner Link, a second from Commissioner Myers, all in. Go right ahead, Commissioner
I
Wright.
wanted to
I'm sorry.
also, I want to give a thank you to everybody for applying, as well as the group that swiftly processed it and gave us a lot to read and understand. I'm particularly impressed with the inclusion for the young adults to be paid leadership roles within the different camps. I know that once the teenage years is when they sort of start drifting, and I think having them as role models to the younger kids as well as being paid, just that great combination. And I think majority of the groups that are getting funded did that, and I particularly like that part of it. And I'm ready to vote.
All right.
Mayor, if I might.
Yeah, Manager Williams.
I'd just like to give thanks to the review committee, which is headed up by Kent Kilpatrick, Sergeant Jerry Johnson of the Athens-Clarke County Police Department, Solomon Smothers with our Housing and Community Development Department, and Trevor Ross, who is the Herd Park Supervisor, and with assistance from Sarah George. And they pulled it all together, and Kent worked over the weekend to deliver a more informed report that you have before you now. So, and I also want to thank the folks that put forth some very good proposals. And I know that that was a pretty formal process through our purchasing department. And in speaking with the attorney's office, we feel like we can simplify and streamline that process going forward. So we'll seek to do that the next round.
That's great. I appreciate everybody's efforts here. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Go forth and do well, friends. All right, 16 is a request to approve the Athens Justice and Memory Project, the Linnentown Walk of Recognition, as recommended. And of course, we've seen a work session item and received some correspondence in support of this from those members. And I'd entertain a motion for the floor.
I'll move to approve.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Thornton, a second from Commissioner Link. All right, Commissioner Thornton, any follow-up?
No, I think this is moving in the right direction. I know some people think it's kind of slow, but I do believe we're moving in the right direction. I want to thank Hattie Whitehead and her team for staying ahead of the curve and keeping us informed. and, because I know it's not easy work.
Commissioner Link, any follow-up?
Yeah, Commissioner Parker's not here, so I do want to thank her also, because she served on that committee with Hattie Whitehead, who's just
Commissioner Hamby.
done, and Commissioner Hamby, he's here. And Dr. Jennifer Rice. Dr. Rice and Hattie Whitehead have just been really, really diligent in making sure that we knew the work of this committee, because it's been really inclusive of the community that was impacted. And going forward, the installation of the art piece and the walk is intended to be totally inclusive of the community, and they elicited the help of a specialist in the School of Art that has expertise in inclusive participatory art projects. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the whole community continue to participate as this gets installed, and I hope that we are definitely going to look at our budget and assure that we have the full and proper funding to complete this project.
Commissioner Hamby?
I think we put 50,000 in there last year.
We did.
For this, so.
We did. Looking forward to everybody having their hands on the ceramic. Commissioner Houle, then I'll return to Commissioner Thornton.
Thank you, Mayor. This feels like an apt time to reiterate a comment from the agenda setting meeting, which is that, I'm really excited to see that this is going to move forward seemingly unanimously. But the resolution that we passed was about recognition and redress. And this is very good for recognition, but does very little for redress. So I do hope that this body will take seriously the next steps that have to occur after this. A study concluded recently that pegged the figure at above $5 million that the former residents of Lindentown would be owed by a combination of this body and the University of Georgia. So I hope we will make good on doing something with what would be our portion of that responsibility. Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner
I was
Thornton?
just going to add on from the inception, when we met in your chamber, in your office, Kelly, that small group of folk with Hattie and some community people, sometimes we get to a place and we just forget how it all started. And I do want to thank those group of people that came and shared and was part of that to get us here. And my point is getting to, this is Lindentown, but there's other communities that were dismantled. I think what we have learned from this process is how we can address those other disappearing Black communities. But I do remember that small meeting, and we had a heart-to-heart conversation, and here we are today. But I hope I do want to recognize Commissioner Houle's comment, and do not want to minimize that reparation part, but I also want to make sure that we're creating a model that we can look at other communities, Black communities that have disappeared.
Yeah, and, just two quick things before we vote. One, to your point, Commissioner Thornton, an explicit charge to the Memory and Justice team is to support other communities that find themselves, and certainly have been in similar situations. So we want that sharing of knowledge and experience. The other thing, and said this in the past, but I want us to think about potential use of our ARPA dollars for that recompense, given that those federal funds don't come with all the strings of state and local dollars. So with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, item 17 is a resolution referencing climate change, and Commissioner Myers, you brought this forward in its base model, so I'd ask you to kick off the comments and make a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve this.
Second.
Thank you. And I'll follow up. Thank you for that second. I want to just explain what this is a little bit. The Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, a statewide organization that's trying to work on our fight against climate change, reached out to us asking cities and municipalities in Georgia to add our support so that they can do the work that needs to be done on the federal level. And I want to thank David Weber and his colleagues from the Sunrise Movement who've come out and spoken in support of this. Really, the resolution is putting is reiterating our support on the local level for this $550 billion climate provisions in the federal, the budget reconciliation package, but also for the Justice 40 initiative, which directs 40% of the federal climate funding to disadvantaged communities. And that comes from the White House doing that. We've done a lot here in Athens, and we're really a regional leader, so it's really important for us to go ahead and make this kind of statement. We've taken meaningful action to address climate change through alternative transportations, including the transit, bike, and pedestrian access, measures to grow and sustain our urban tree canopy, targeted programs for low-income residents to have more energy-efficient homes, in our upcoming clean energy plan, but we need the federal government, obviously. We're just a small part of this, and we just have to reiterate this again and again, that this is such an important thing. It actually feels very special here, these last three things, with the Linnentown vote and with the youth development work, really makes it these three votes right here in a row. This one is more symbolic, but just how important the work is that we do and how we can give hope and make change in our community. I'm thankful for that, and I hope I have my colleagues' support in passing this resolution.
Thank you, Commissioner Myers. Any follow-up, Commissioner Edwards?
Thank you. Happy to support this, and also glad to serve on the Legislative Review Committee, where we've been working to do our own small part here as a municipal government. I'm surprised my colleague, Commissioner Myers, didn't highlight this important work that we're doing, as she's a member on that committee.
I
But
wanted to
we
leave
are
that for
also
you.
doing what we can here in this county by transitioning the gas-powered two-stroke maintenance machines into more responsible electric machines.
Yes.
These two-stroke motors are the most primitive polluting motors in the world, and they hurt the health of our employees, they hurt the environment, and they burn this slurry of gas and oil simultaneously. They're very harmful. So I'm glad that we're leading the way in Georgia in phasing out the use of those harmful machines and doing our part for climate change within our scope of authority here with this local government. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Denson?
Thank you, Mayor. And yeah, I also am very excited to support this and see this pass, and definitely commend everything that this body and staff has been doing. I know we actually had solar radius go up behind the police department just this past month too. Nice large display. So we're doing our part here, but of course we're urging the federal government to be doing its part, which it desperately needs to do. But I did want to point out, I know it was not the agenda setting, but I think it is an important. Yeah, the very last whereas should read, and the community as a whole by 2050, not by 2030. So.
We just understand that the motion includes that.
Correction to the typo.
Yeah.
That I didn't follow up on. Thank you, Commissioner Denson.
Appreciate it. Commissioner Link?
Yeah, I want to thank the young people who came and spoke in favor of this. We just are awarded lots and lots of funds towards youth development initiatives, and this is what this is really about. It is about the future, and it's about young people today having a future, and the problems that have been created by previous generations when it comes to climate change and environmental degradation. They're the ones who are going to suffer the most, them and their grandchildren, and it is so important that we do whatever we can to clean up our mess. Not much is getting done. This is, as we said, essentially symbolic. It is up to Congress to actually do the work. And sometimes it seems impossible, but we need to keep fighting. I mean, I've marched on the streets of DC and New York City over and over again fighting for this issue, and I call upon everybody to continue to make that effort.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Thornton?
Help me to play back in history. I think at the housing conference we did on Saturday, John Williams spoke about the enactment of the Clean Water Act. and we are like just scratching the surface from 1978. I think this hopefully doesn't take that long to get it moving, but I do think you have to start somewhere. I hadn't even thought about the Clean Water Act until John spoke about it. So I think this is moving us in that direction, and hopefully it won't take as long with the federal government.
Let's hope. Commissioner Houle?
Yeah, I'm just meditating on Commissioner Parker's remarks in our retreat about how all of our efforts are for naught if things don't change on the larger scale. It's going to become more about how well can we mitigate the worst effects of disaster for people in our community. And so with a whole lot of appreciation for the folks who are doing this advocacy work on the state and federal, especially federal level, you know, for what it's worth to have as many of us as possible on the record. I'm glad that we're really playing our part quite aggressively to tackle the worst of climate change, but our part will mean nothing if there is not broader federal level policy to accompany it. So.
Absolutely. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. All right, item 18 regards the North Downtown Athens Payment in lieu of Taxes Agreement with the Athens Housing Authority for our SPLOST 2020 project. And of course, while we've received a recent presentation about some of the cost needs, this is a more sort of global element to that will really just set the stage for future phases. So entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Thornton and a second from Commissioner Link. Commissioner Thornton, any follow-up?
No, I think this project speaks for itself, so I won't belabor. I think we're moving the way, with some of the setbacks, I still think that we're moving in the right direction.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Link?
Yeah, this government made a huge commitment to affordable housing in the last SPLOST, what, $39 million was it? The lion's share of which is intended for this project, and we need to do whatever it takes to see this project through. It's extremely important that this chunk of downtown be available for affordable housing for regular folks. Downtown has been overrun by luxury student housing. There's some luxury senior housing planned. We need to assure that we have a diverse and thriving downtown where anybody from our community can live.
Thanks, Commissioner. And if you haven't, I encourage everybody to take a walk down by the Council on Aging where you can see the sort of development of the park and stormwater facility that's underway there. So Commissioner Denson and then Houle.
Thank you, Mayor. And, yeah, I think there's an important distinction to make here, which I'm excited about, which is part of what we're doing here with this IGA is that previously it was going to be, this phase one was going to build 120 units, and 80 of those units were going to be all specifically affordable housing, with 40 units being market price housing. But with this IGA, we were actually changing that, and so that all 120 units will be able to be designated as affordable housing, actually increasing the amount of affordable housing that we're creating by doing this. And so the market price will instead be no greater than 115%. So ensuring that those ones that would be market share are not going to be luxury housing or something like that, which I know some of us heard concerns about. So I think this is
three tiers of cost, but all of them in the affordable umbrella.
Exactly. And I did have one question here, which I guess the staff, I'm assuming that same kind of style here, policy is going to be for all of the phases, since all of these phases are going to be funded with SPLOST dollars?
Well, this is one phase that is purely residential, so there'll be, it was envisioned as a mixed income, which phase one is, but also a mixed use project. So there may be some retail or commercial, and those would definitely be where they would require some repayment of SPLOST funds because it can't go for commercial purposes.
Okay.
So this will be slightly different. I mean, this is somewhat of a model, but I would think if there's any commercial pieces to it, there would be reimbursement.
Sure. No, I can't commercial. Okay. Thank you for that.
Commissioner Houle?
Thank you, Mayor. First, heaps of kudos to Housing Community Development and Assistant Manager Jones and everyone on the staff team, as well as everyone at the Housing Authority for pulling this together. I know it's been a lot of working and reworking to get us through. I just wanted to share for moving forward that I hope there's a hope that we can find a way to make our area median income calculus always be tied specifically to Clark County and not to the area beyond Clark County. Those are different figures, and what's affordable for people in Oconee County is very different than what's affordable for people in Clark County when we lump the two together. And I understand that there's difficulty in getting accurate numbers for that because of who's gathering that data and how often, but if there's anything we can do to, in the future, make sure that we're defining AMI specific to Clark County, I think that that's important for us to explore. Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, Manager Williams?
Just for the benefit of the Mayor and Commission and the public, so next Tuesday, so what you've done tonight is you've submitted the structure for Phase 1, and as Rick Parker has identified, Executive Director of Athens Housing Authority, that with the escalation that we spoke about in the paving agenda item, there's going to be some need for additional funds to complete Phase 1, something on the order of $11 million. Rick Parker will come back next week to the work session to present to you why that is and perhaps some sources of funding. They'll be looking for some relatively quick feedback and perhaps action the following week at the agenda setting session if you're so inclined, or at the latest at the June voting meeting, because what they're trying to do is close the financing for the project as soon as possible so that no more additional escalation occurs. There's also the opportunity for some, perhaps some additional state funding that could offset what we might, ACC Gov might contribute, and that application is due to DCA, I think, on June 3rd. And if we had, that's another reason for a little bit of urgency on response on how much y'all might want to put back into the deal so that they can put that application in time for DCA and perhaps offset some of the costs we'd otherwise have to pay. You'll hear all about that next week, so look forward to that.
Thanks, Manager Williams. All right, for 19 and 20, which is new business, I need a motion for suspension of rules.
So moved.
All right, I've got a motion for suspension of rules from Commissioner Link, a second from Commissioner Myers. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, moving on. 19 is the 29th declaration of a local state of emergency related to COVID-19. Could you read that ordinance, Attorney Drake?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance for the 29th declaration of a local state of emergency related to COVID-19 and for other purposes.
All right, thank you, Attorney. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All right, motion from Commissioner Link, second from Commissioner Thornton.
I'll say a couple words. You know, COVID seems to be over, but, you know, there's indications of rising levels in our sewage. We need to continue to remain careful, especially when it comes to folks who are immunocompromised. So I just want to ask everyone, you know, if you do spend time with anyone who's immunocompromised, to be aware, wear your masks, stay away from public places, get tested, you know, before you see them. There's the protocols that I follow before I visit my father. I have 3 friends who were out with COVID last week. Thankfully, they're all vaxxed and boosted, and they did okay. You know, one was a little sick for a few days, but it's not over. So.
I have no comment. I'll just ditto my colleague. We just need to continue to be careful and safe.
Thank you.
I just wanted to, I shared these thoughts by email with the colleague, with all y'all, but we've gotten a lot of really great reports from staff in the past couple weeks, and among them was an update on our vaccine incentive program. And I just wanted to share here that given the underutilization of that program, I would like for this body to consider whether that's the best use of the remaining funds sitting there. I mean, it doesn't seem like it achieved the goal that we hoped it would. You know, we've wanted to get a much higher vaccination rate than we've gotten. It's not happening. I'm not convinced that those funds continuing to sit out there and waiting are really achieving their desired purpose. And so maybe we could better use them for any of the many other things that we're talking about using them for.
And so we could have a future conversation about reallocation.
I would definitely agree with that. Yeah, I don't even have to speak to it, but I do think we need to revisit that.
All right. All right, with a motion from Commissioner Thornton, second from Commissioner Link, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, for item 20, we have a slate of appointments. We'll go ahead and ask for a motion regarding the slate.
So move.
Move to approve. Second.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Link, second from Commissioner Edwards, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, and I will now read those names. All right, so for the Airport Authority, Jeffrey Benjamin will be serving a 4-year term. For the Classic Center Authority, Jennifer Messer will be serving a 4-year term. For the Hearings Board, Christopher Joyner will be serving a partial term that expires June 30th of '25. For the Historic Preservation Commission, Lindsay Roper will serve a 3-year term, and Ellen Walker will serve a 3-year term. For the Planning Commission, Sarah Gehring will serve a 5-year term, and Kristen Morales is reappointed to a 5-year term. So thanks to everybody who applied, and thanks particularly to those folks who have been appointed and are willing to serve for those times. All right, now is the time when we move to a public hearing and deliberation regarding recommendations from the Athens-Clarke County Planning Commission. We have Planning Director Brad Griffin with us. We have 2 items. Public input is slightly different. There is an opportunity for an applicant or an opponent to request a 10-minute slot. Do we have any requested 10-minute slots? All right, we have none. So item 21 regards the application by Steve Cummings, owner of the Athens Christian School. And so now is the time for any public input regarding that. Mr. Cummings, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. My name is Steve Cummings. I live at 96 Charter Oak Drive in Athens, Georgia. I'm also the head of school at Athens Christian School. Thank you again for allowing us this time to speak to this, and I'll be pretty efficient with our time. The first thing I'd like to do is really thank the entire Athens-Clarke County Planning Commission, the Planning Department, and Mr. Griffin, who's really helped walk us through this process. This is the first time I've ever gone through a zoning request change, so we needed a lot of help, and we really got it from the Athens-Clarke County Planning Commission. So I just wanted to start by thanking them. Also thanking Commissioner Thornton at our meeting, the last meeting in April, for supporting this. I did just want to give a little brief background. We've been on this property for 50 years. In Athens-Clarke County. We initially bought 35 acres from Milton Southwell. It was a pasture land at that time. We've expanded on that over the last 50 years. We now own close to 61 acres there. But the last time, and what brought this about, the last time we wanted to put a new structure on the property, we had to keep going back to get a special use variance for that. And really it was suggested to us, you really need to rezone the property. It was zoned commercial rural when we bought it, and a part of it was also RS-15, which is single family residential, and it was suggested that we try to change it to commercial general. As you all know, there have been significant changes in that part of the county where we are over the last 10 years, and so we moved ahead with our request to rezone it. When we went before the Planning Commission, the only opposition that we had was from a neighbor. We've been neighbors with them for 50 years. They've been there on their residence for that time. And so we wanted to resolve any possible issues with any of our neighbors because we've coexisted very, very peacefully for 5 decades now. So on suggestion from the Planning Commission and approval from us and very enthusiastic approval from us, there's been a special condition added to the zoning that says the property will only be used for school use. We hope to be there another 50 years, and so we enthusiastically approve that. I think maybe the most important thing is going through this process with the Planning Commission. This request for change to commercial general is compatible with every single criteria that is suggested by the Planning Commission. So, for instance, we are completely compatible with the future use plan for this part of the county, which is general business. We are compatible completely with the zoning map and the ordinance standards, compatible with the balance of land uses.
Commission consent to continue in comments?
I can wrap up pretty quickly.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Sorry.
I was almost done. But I just wanted to emphasize that there were no issues at all with the Planning Commission. Compatible population environment grading and drainage, water and sewer, fire protection. I know Commissioner Davenport asked a question last time about whether we were tied into ACC sewer, and we are. And so we would ask that you vote in favor with what the Planning Commission is recommending and allow us to rezone that property to commercial general with the special condition that it be used for school use only. Thank you.
Mr. Cummings.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this item? All right, this is in District 9. I'd entertain a motion from Commissioner Thornton.
I make the motion that we support this.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Thornton, second from Commissioner Edwards. Comments, Commissioner Thornton?
No, I think the one thing that stood out was that it does fit the future use plan, the zoning map, but I think what impressed me more was the fact that they did or are working with a neighbor who was concerned and put in that condition to appease that neighbor. And I think as we develop and as we go through development, we got to find a way to work with our neighbors. And I do think adding that condition really sets this process on a high level for me.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any follow-up, Commissioner Edwards?
There's nothing I could say to improve upon what has already been said.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Ordinance, Attorney Drake, I appreciate it.
An ordinance to amend the Code of Athens, Clark County, Georgia, with respect to rezoning approximately 60.89 acres located at 1270 US Highway 29 North from special use in RS-15 single-family residential and CR commercial rural to CG commercial general and for other purposes.
Again, affirming approval. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right. Item 22 is the last item we have for this evening. This regards 2100 Barnett Shoals Road. This is just for reconstruction of an existing restaurant and drive-through. Is there anyone here to speak to this item this evening? All right, seeing none. Attorney Drake, can you read the ordinance on this on the front end?
An ordinance to amend the Code of Athens, Clark County, Georgia, with respect to amending a planned development comprising approximately 0.78 acres and located at 2100 Barnett Shoals Road in the CGPD Commercial General Plan Development and for other purposes.
All right, thanks, Attorney Drake. This is in District 8. Commissioner Myers, I'd entertain a motion from you.
Yeah, a motion to approve this?
Second.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Myers, second from Commissioner Edwards. Any further comments, Commissioner?
No, I'm happy to see that Zaxby's is updating this east side location. I think that people will be happy with it. It's an update from a 2013 planned development. I found it really interesting that the square footage is being reduced from 3,800 feet to just over 3,000 square feet, and that the seats are being reduced from 90 to 56, and the parking spaces as well, but I guess it's a sign of the times. The drive-through is being expanded, so that tells us about something where we are. Thank the planning department for working with this developer on the tree maintenance management plan. I really liked reading about the desire to have large-size canopy and produce more shade for that added sidewalk that's going to connect the Zaxby's to the sidewalk and the bike rack as well. So I'm happy to approve this, and that's it.
Services will deliver to you as well. Commissioner, any follow-up? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we move on now to resident input regarding any item not on our agenda tonight. Would anyone like to speak generally to the Commission and myself regarding anything that was not on tonight's agenda? All right, hearing crickets, we are going to move on to reports. For myself, I have one appointment and then one note. I'm appointing Commissioner Patrick Davenport as the Commission representative to the Public Safety Oversight Commission. Commissioner, thank you for accepting that assignment. And then I just want to make sure that everybody in the public knows that over the next month, there are going to be several opportunities for input on the fiscal year 2023 budget. If you go to accgov.com, you can see that more than 400-page budget in full and the dates for public input on said budget. So please be looking for that. Manager Williams, any reports?
No report, sir.
Attorney Drake?
No reports.
All right, we will go ahead and begin with Commissioner Davenport and move around to Commissioner Hamby for input and adjournment.
All righty, thank you, Mayor. Marigold Festival in Winterville next Friday, the 14th, so please come out. It should be a fun-filled time. Get out and vote, May 24th. We got a big T-Splosh, some wonderful candidates. Please get out and vote. And just happy Mother Day to all the lovely mothers. And of course, congratulations to Leisure Services, and climate change is real.
Yeah, I just want to say it's been nice to see people out and about. Caught a little bit of twilight Saturday night, and it seems like we are gaining some resemblance of normalcy. But as people are out and about, I want to remind folks to drive carefully. I did have a meeting with some of my constituents last week about neighborhood traffic calming. There are lots of reports coming in of street racing and reckless driving in town and neighborhoods. I have a friend on a ventilator in the hospital in Gainesville right now who was hit head-on by a street racer being pursued by a state trooper up in near Helen last couple of weeks ago. You know, my mother was hit in a crosswalk last week. This is something that's really, really near and dear to my heart, and I hope that as we move forward with the budget, we can assure that we have the funds to tackle these issues in our community, not just installing the infrastructure to keep pedestrians and cyclists off the roads, but also the infrastructure and the programs to make people drive more safely and more slowly, and to make sure that our neighborhoods are places where kids can play safely in the streets.
I think I'm just going to focus in on tomorrow's Athens-Clarke County Staff Appreciation Day. It's going to be a big event out at Sandy Creek Park. I want to I know that a lot of staff are working extra hard for their coworkers in other departments. I know Leisure Services has taken the lead in all that, and which means it'll be a great time. And it's been how long? How long since we were able to have, was the one of 2020 canceled, I think. It's been a long time.
Yes, it has.
Christmas ones were canceled as well. So it's going to be kind of like a family reunion, huge one. But anyway, looking forward to being out there with everybody.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that also. That's going to be awesome. And just two things thank you, Patrick, Commissioner Davenport, for bringing up the elections here. And I know, I think a lot of us have been asked about redistricting, like what district am I in? Our fantastic GIO team has put together at accgov.com/redistricting. You can put in your address. It'll show you all of your districts, commission, school board, State House, all of them in one nice place. I've been asked that a lot, so I really appreciate staff putting together a really easy to navigate tool. So I definitely encourage everybody to do that. And then speaking of the budget, the next District 5 Town Hall will be on Wednesday, May 18th at Normal Bar, and we will be discussing the FY23 budget, and I'll be taking public input from folks there. So look forward to that. That's all I have.
Happy International Workers' Day and May Day, a couple days late, and also happy World Press Freedom Day today to everybody. But I do want to thank, there are a lot of great community leaders and organizations who put on some fantastic May Day festivities, and without listing them all, just want to give a kudos to those who are standing up for the workers who make this world possible. A few announcements. Some developers are proposing a rezone of a substantially sized tract on Classic Road, and they'll be hosting a town hall tomorrow. That's Wednesday, May 4th, from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. at the fire station on Cleveland Road. That's fire station number 2 at 265 Cleveland. So if folks, especially folks who live in the area, have not already heard, there's been a lot of kind of reaching out to the HOAs and stuff in the area, but please do come out if you'd like. And then the very next day, there's a planning commission meeting where 1010 Oglethorpe, that I know many constituents in districts 5 and 6 are especially concerned about, will be on the agenda. That's the cottage court development. I think there's a lot of promise for that to be a model for some missing middle housing, but I know there's also been a lot of concerns from folks in the area, so please come out to that planning commission meeting if you have thoughts and feelings on it. That's at 6 o'clock per usual at the Doherty Street building. And then on Saturday, May 21st, be the next Westwood Hills and River Bottom block party at the cul-de-sac on Austin Drive. So please come out to that if you live in Westwood Hills and or River Bottom from 2 to 5 p.m. And beyond that, yeah, I think everybody else already covered the other stuff. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks. Wanted to express my thanks to Tim Griffith, who is just a consummate professional and was working with some constituents of mine on Henderson Avenue and made a very positive impression. Also, real happy to see that our police force has been staffed up in the downtown precinct. I've certainly noticed a difference. There's some great officers there, Sergeant Leader, some of his staff. Really it's been great seeing a more visible presence from our county professionals downtown. I think it's been a great help. I share my concerns. I share concerns with Commissioner Link about traffic calming, and I was working at my wife's business the other day, and a UGA student hobbled in wearing a knee brace. She was struck crossing Baxter by a hit and run, and I think it just really highlights the importance of our work with the local government, developing infrastructure that's clearly within our mission and our authority that will create a safe environment for our residents, for our families to navigate our community. Separate facilities, barriers, good design between vehicles and pedestrians will help minimize these conflicts that are creating these unfortunate injuries. As I alluded to earlier, the LRC is working to create a more sustainable county government by investing in new technologies that pollute much less and enhance the health and safety of our employees, which has really been a focus of the work. And we're preparing a modest budget proposal, which we'll bring back to the full body to help hasten that transition and create a safer working environment for our employees. So I'll look forward to hearing my colleagues' input on that and would ask for their support. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I wanted to start by just acknowledging the loss of another young man this last month, the 19-year-old Brinarius Smith, who was shot and killed, and all of the people who are struggling with violence in our community. There again has been some shootings on the east side at the Taco Bell, real close to where I am, and there's just a lot of sirens, and there's a lot of people struggling with this either because they're the victims or they're involved in this as well. And I'm glad that we as a commission are committed to keeping working on this. And so I also want to send my appreciation to the police department too, to the work they're doing to try to follow up on these and shootings and make our community a safer place. I also wanted to mention that I just started yesterday with the first chairing the site selection committee for some of our SPLOST 2020 projects. That actually, originally I thought it was just going to be the East Side Library, but it will also include the East Side Library, the Firehouse Number 5, the Youth Development Center, and the SPLOST 2011 Youth Development Center as well. And I just want to reassure the public that this will be a thorough, transparent process. All these meetings are available to watch online, and there's a lot of opportunity for public input along the way in all of these that were going on. Also, I'm going to have my first District 8 Town Hall meeting, and that's coming up in 2 weeks on May 16th, 6:30 at Firehouse Number 7 by the vet school, where we're going to have some people from Transportation Public Works and Georgia Department of Transportation talking about pavement, road maintenance, and what's going on at the I-10 bypass by the new B&B Theater that I have not yet gone to, Commissioner Davenport. Also, a T-Splost overview and a little update on the East Side Library and the site selection, as well as questions and answers. And finally, just following up with the cheers, happy spring, happy Easter, happy Passover, and also happy Ramadan. Got to celebrate Eid al-Fitr yesterday with my daughter and her family, and just want to share those greetings. Eid Mubarak. There we go. There's my Arabic to all our Muslim Athenians.
I'm going to give a shout out to all the people that came out Saturday and made the housing conference a success, and it was huge. We were very deliberate in making sure it was really diverse, and not just with race, but gender, work experience, involvement. And so there was some good dialogue that I think that came out of that. I thank ADDA for sponsoring our food, which was huge. County Manager Williams and our mayor entertained and educated folk on different issues. Thank Carol Myers for coming out support. And my right and my left, Commissioner Wright and Commissioner Hamby did all the running around. Commissioner Edwards, thank you for agreeing to sponsor our speech contest, which didn't happen, but he did agree that he would help us with our foreclosure initiative. And we're going to raise money by GoFundMe, and it's going to be done through EADC, and it'll be ongoing. We want to raise money to help people facing foreclosure. Some people who are facing foreclosures they owe $2,600. $2,600, and they're losing their homes and their property. So we want to tap in and try to save these homes and also educate them through financial literacy how they can maintain their homes. The Boys and Girls Clubs, we had 3 winners. They did art exhibits on housing, what a house means to me. So we had 3 winners out of there, and I thought it was really unique. One little girl did a clay house of tents. I think we're meeting tomorrow to kind of debrief from Saturday, and Manager Williams has already said he's going to talk to me or us about what came out of that meeting as we move forward with our housing initiative. So thank you, everybody.
I'll be real quick. I just want to thank also, Tim Griffith gets around. He helped tonight on an issue with Dudley Drive and some yellow curving there, and I know the folks there will appreciate it that travel that road. And with that, I will make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All right, at 7:30, we've got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none. Good job.
Yeah.